For 15 long years, King Theron of Eldoria has never slept a full, peaceful night. His only child, Princess Elira, has never once laughed, not even a tiny smile, in her entire life. Eldoria is a magnificent realm. Silver rivers wind through deep emerald forests, castles pierce the clouds, gardens bloom year-round, and its people live peacefully, happy and content. But a thick, heavy cloud of sadness hangs low over the royal palace. The king has tried every possible thing to make his daughter smile. Royal jesters tumbled straight into fountains just to amuse her. Cheerful musicians played the brightest folk songs beneath her balcony. Bards traveled across the realm to tell the silliest jokes at her royal feasts. None of it worked. Elira never even twitched the corner of her mouth. The whole kingdom quietly calls her the Silent Princess. With every quiet day that passes, the king's worn heart breaks just a little more. No amount of gold or power can chase the cold silence away from his daughter. Princess Elira stands alone on the palace balcony, staring out at the silent rose garden. She is beautiful, but a cold emptiness has lived in her face since her mother Queen Selene died when she was a small child. The palace, once filled with song, is now utterly quiet. Her father, the king, tries everything to pull his daughter from her sorrow. He brings dancers from rolling deserts, magicians that summon glowing light butterflies, talking parrots, tiny acrobats, and storytellers with the silliest tales. Elira smiles politely at every performance, but she never once laughs out loud, no matter what they do. Years later, the king makes a public announcement. Whoever can make Princess Elira laugh shall marry her and inherit half my kingdom. Princes flood in from every corner, acting foolish, showing off tricks, bringing rare, strange beasts. One prince rides a brightly painted elephant into court and trips straight into the marble fountain. The whole court roars with laughter. Even the stone gods seem to snicker. But Elira sits still. No smile, no laugh. One by one, disappointed princes leave the palace. Quiet whispers spread through the kingdom. The princess's heart is frozen, frozen forever, and nothing will ever thaw it again. Far from the gilded spires of the royal palace, a tiny, quiet village huddles at the edge of an ancient forest. Here lives a poor old woodcutter with his 3 grown sons. The 2 older brothers, Victor and Cedric, are tall, handsome, and eaten up with pride. They think wealth and cleverness are all that matter in the world. The youngest, Rowan, is simple, gentle, and always wears a soft smile. People call him a fool for his kindness, but he never grows angry. Every day, Rowan helps his father chop wood and shares what little he has with anyone in need. His brothers laugh at him nonstop. "You'll never amount to anything," Victor sneers. "The world crushes soft fools," Cedric adds. Then a royal herald arrives with a proclamation for the dragon's golden apple. Victor and Cedric rush to sign up, sneering that Rowan is too soft to survive the journey. One cold, crisp autumn morning, 3 young men from the same village took turns heading into the deep woods to chop firewood for their families. Each carried a basket packed with food for the day. First went Victor, with a basket full of warm bread, roasted meat, and sweet juice. Deep in the woods, he met a tired, silver-haired old man who begged for food. Victor shoved him aside, calling him a beggar. Moments later, his axe slipped and sliced his own foot. He limped home badly injured. The next day, Cedric went into the woods, carrying his own full basket of food. The hungry old man appeared again and asked for just a bite to eat. Cedric laughed cruelly and told the old man to earn his own meal. Soon after, his axe slipped and struck his arm, leaving him hurt and bitter. Finally, Rowan went into the woods. He was poor and carried only dry bread and a small bottle of water. When the old man begged for food, Rowan immediately sat beside him and offered to share what little he had. The moment he opened his basket, his plain dry bread transformed into warm honey cakes, golden cheese, and ripe sweet fruit. The old man smiled and said, "Kindness reveals hidden magic." Then he pointed to a great ancient oak. and said beneath its roots, Rowan would find his true destiny. Rowan thanked the gray-haired old wanderer, hefted his dented, rusted axe, and turned toward the quiet, deep forest. Pine scents wrapped around him as he set off toward the northern hill. For 6 long months, Rowan had chased this rumored magical gift across the kingdom. He walked for an hour, winding up the grassy sloped hill, until he spotted it. The gnarled ancient oak, its trunk, wider than 2 grown men, standing shoulder to shoulder. He gripped his axe tight, swung it again and again at the thick oak trunk. Dry bark chips flew through the crisp, cool morning air, until finally, the first thick branch split with a crack and tumbled to the ground. Bright sunlight burst through the open canopy in strange, glowing golden rays. Rowan knelt to brush away loose dirt at the oak's gnarled roots and uncovered something extraordinary. It was a goose, but no ordinary goose. Its feathers shone like pure gold, each one glittering brighter than any hoarded treasure. It blinked calmly and waddled toward Rowan, as if it already knew him. Rowan stepped forward gently and murmured, "Well, aren't you beautiful?" He wrapped the golden goose carefully in his warm wool coat and began his journey home. After tramping through thick woods all day, dusk turned to deep night long before Rowan could reach the distant village. He turned off the overgrown trail and spotted a tiny roadside inn to stop for the night. Rowan carried with him a goose with shimmering golden feathers. The innkeeper's 3 daughters spotted it the moment he stepped through the door, their eyes blowing wide with greedy excitement. "Even 1 golden feather would be enough to make us rich," the eldest sister whispered. That night, as Rowan slept soundly by the warm hearth, the eldest girl crept silently across the room toward the goose. The moment her hand touched a golden feather, it glued tight to the goose's side. She panicked and pulled desperately, but could not break free. The second sister rushed in to help, stuck fast too. The youngest sister followed, and she got stuck as well, forming a ridiculous linked chain by morning. When Rowan woke up, he blinked hard in confusion at the silly scene. The goose waddled forward, dragging the 3 stuck sisters behind. Rowan burst into loud laughter. "Well, this is certainly strange," he said, and followed the goose out. Rowan walked at a calm, steady pace toward the royal city. A plump golden goose tucked safely under one arm. 3 curious sisters snuck to touch its glittering feathers, and now they stuck fast, one after another, trailing behind him. Half a mile down the road, an angry priest spotted the chain of girls and yelled, "Shameful behavior! Let go at once!" He lunged to pull one free and immediately got stuck too. A farmer tried to yank the priest loose and got stuck. Then 2 royal guards rushed in and joined the chain too. By the time Rowan reached the towering kingdom gate, an absurd, wobbly parade of people bounced, stumbled, and crashed along behind the golden goose. Startled villagers gasped and dropped their baskets and wares. Children rolled on the ground, laughing uncontrollably. Dogs barked loudly and chased the moving chain. People tripped into haystacks and splashed straight into muddy puddles, leaving a messy trail behind. No shouts, no chaos, no laughter reached Rowan's ears. He never turned to look behind him. The young traveler just kept walking peacefully forward, completely unaware of all the ridiculous chaos he left in his wake. For years, every afternoon in the palace has been the same. Cold, silent, dull, suffocating. That day, Princess Elira pressed her palm to the frosty glass, waiting for another empty day to pass. Then a strange, odd sound drifted up from the palace gate. It wasn't the polite, soft titter allowed in these cold walls. It was real, wild, unapologetic laughter. Curiosity pulled Elira to the balcony, and she leaned over the rail to look far below. A cheerful young man hauled a golden goose down the muddy road, with a chaotic chain of people trailing behind. Furious guards, crying girls, a priest hopping on one bare foot. One guard fell into the fountain. The priest's shoe sank in mud, and the whole line toppled like dominoes. Elira stared, then a tiny chuckle slipped out. She threw back her head and laughed, bright, warm laughter cutting through years of heavy silence. She laughed until tears rolled down her cheeks and her sides ached. The whole kingdom paused, stunned. Then joy bloomed everywhere. Unplanned bells rang. People dropped work to dance. And after years of silence, the princess had laughed at last. From his gilded throne, the king gazed coldly at the young peasant Rowan. He had promised Rowan his daughter Elira's hand, but deep down he doubted the boy entirely. "This boy is poor and simple," he muttered under his breath. "He is not worthy of my daughter." The king hatched a plan to get rid of Rowan for good. He would give Rowan a series of impossible tasks he could never complete. If Rowan failed even one, he would never be allowed to marry Elira. The first of these impossible tasks was named the Endless Wine. He ordered Rowan to find a man who could drink the entire royal cellar dry. Rowan left the palace at once and wandered out into the wide, sun-baked countryside. He searched for 3 long, grueling days, asking every traveler and villager he met for help. On the 3rd evening, he finally found a thirsty giant resting beside a cool river. "I could drink an entire ocean if I wanted to," the giant sighed, rubbing his parched throat. Rowan brought the giant straight back to the royal palace, and the giant immediately got to work. Within only a few short hours, the giant had emptied every last wine barrel in the king's vast royal cellar. When the king walked into the cellar, he stared at the long rows of completely dry, empty barrels. His mouth hung open, and he was far too shocked to utter a single word. The king set an impossible challenge for any suitor of his daughter. "If you truly deserve my hand," he said, "bring me 1 crystal tear from the Cave of Sorrows." Legend says the cave hides deep in the deadly Black Mountains. All who enter are trapped forever in their own darkest sadness. Dozens of knights tried to claim the tear, but none ever returned alive. Undeterred, young Rowan set out, carrying nothing but a small lantern. Inside, the cave walls whispered all his old, painful memories. Taunting voices echoed, "You are foolish. You are weak. You will fail." But Rowan did not stop. At the cave's center, he found a lonely young spirit, crying, each tear turning to crystal. Instead of stealing, he sat beside her and asked, "Why are you crying?" The spirit had been alone for hundreds of years. For the first time, someone cared. Her sadness melted. She gave Rowan the tear willingly. When he returned, even the king was surprised. Rowan stood before the king, waiting for his final test of worth. No flower had bloomed there in 10 years, not since Queen Selene died. The king turned and pointed to the cold, overgrown, cracked expanse of the garden, utterly devoid of life. "If you can restore this garden," the king declared, "then perhaps you truly belong here." Most past applicants immediately reached for flashy magic, but none succeeded yet. Rowan did not reach for magic. Instead, he spent every day turning the hard, cracked soil by hand, pulling weeds, watering the dormant roots. He spoke gently to the old gardeners who had long lost hope. Princess Elira came quietly to help him every soft evening, carrying fresh water from the creek. Slowly, green shoots pushed through the turned soil. Red roses bloomed, golden lilies opened to the sun, and cherry blossoms danced in the wind. The garden came alive again, because Rowan restored not just the flowers, but the forgotten hope tied to it. When the king saw Princess Elira laughing freely among the blossoms, he finally understood. It was never magic that made Rowan worthy. It was his gentle, earnest heart. Rowan stood before the king, waiting for his final test of worth. No flower had bloomed there in 10 years, not since Queen Selene died. The king turned and pointed to the cold, overgrown, cracked expanse of the garden, utterly devoid of life. "If you can restore this garden," the king declared, "then perhaps you truly belong here." Most past applicants immediately reached for flashy magic, but none succeeded yet. Rowan did not reach for magic. Instead, He spent every day turning the hard cracked soil by hand, pulling weeds, watering the dormant roots. He spoke gently to the old gardeners who had long lost hope. Princess Elira came quietly to help him every soft evening, carrying fresh water from the creek. Slowly, green shoots pushed through the turned soil. Red roses bloomed, golden lilies opened to the sun, and cherry blossoms danced in the wind. The garden came alive again, because Rowan restored not just the flowers, but the forgotten hope tied to it. When the king saw Princess Elira laughing freely among the blossoms, he finally understood. It was never magic that made Rowan worthy. It was his gentle, earnest heart. On the morning of his royal wedding, Rowan stood alone by the high palace window. Golden sunlight poured across the room like thick, warm honey. His mind drifted back to the simple life he left behind in the forest. Rowan was once a simple, barefoot woodcutter, wandering quiet forest trails. Now he wore garments fit for a king, but felt no pride. It was not fine clothes that made him handsome, it was his kind eyes and gentle smile that won everyone's heart. During the wedding celebration, Rowan slipped away from the cheering crowds to return to the forest one last time. He came to thank the old traveler who once helped him start his journey. This time, the old man appeared in glowing light robes, revealing he was no ordinary wanderer, he was the guardian spirit of the forest. Many seek magic, the spirit said, but magic follows only those with a good heart. He smiled, then vanished into a drift of golden leaves, leaving Rowan with a full, grateful heart. Princess Elira stands in the palace gardens of Eldoria, as thousands of glowing lanterns drift slowly upward into the soft, dark summer sky. Today is her wedding day to Rowan, the wandering traveler who won her heart. Nobles across the kingdom whisper and gossip about the grand gifts Rowan brought to win her hand. A golden goose that lays solid gold eggs, and a magical ship that can sail right through clouds. But neither of these precious treasures is what makes Elira happiest. 3 long, cold years after her mother's death, the palace had been silent and empty, and no one knew how to reach her grieving heart. What Elira treasures most is Rowan's quiet, constant kindness. When no one else dared approach her grief, he sat with her in the empty gardens. He brought wild clover tea when she couldn't sleep, and told silly jokes when she couldn't smile. Slowly, warmth returned to her heart, and laughter came back to the palace to stay. When asked his secret, Rowan would simply say, "A kind heart is worth more than gold." And from that day onward, the kingdom of Eldoria became known as the land where laughter returned.